En lo personal, haber sido o tener un chocolate.
On a personal level, having created a chocolate that has been recognized as the best in the world is an immense joy, because the idea and the whole concept of cacao came from the very beginning. The goal was to present Peruvian cacao to the world through our chocolate.
Peruano a través de nuestro chocolate.
So, Ishmael, that is the big chocolate news that's making the headlines. Last week, Peru was officially recognized as the country with the best chocolate in the world.
Yes, and the award went to El Ganso 70% chocolate bar, crafted by Peruvian brand Cacao Suyo, using cacao from Junin. It won the top prize at the 2025 International Chocolate Awards, which is often called the Chocolate Oscars.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for context, these awards are no joke. They're a very serious thing. They involve a whole global network of cocoa experts, chefs, sensory scientists and chocolatiers. And the grand finale took place in that most beautiful city of Florence in Italy, with over 3,500 samples being submitted from every single continent: Europe, Africa, Asia, and Latin America.
But today's topic isn't a sweet story. It's a story about geopolitics, inequality, and global value chains. Welcome to World Reframed. I'm Ismail, and I'm doing this with Duncan. Today's question is simple but uncomfortable. Why does Africa produce most of the world's cocoa but eat the least chocolate? And how did Peru, a country that produces a fraction of Africa's cocoa, recently get named maker of the world's best cocoa?
Yeah, and there is a conundrum because Africa produces 70%, right? So more than 2/3 of the world's chocolate. And out of that, Ghana, where you are, Cote d'Ivoire together, that's 60%. That's 2/3 of all the world's chocolate from those two countries.
And yet the continent earns only about 3% of the global chocolate industry's revenue, which currently sits at around $110 billion.
So what you have is you have Africa doing the farming, the manual labor, and then the West doing the branding, the processing, and the marketing. And the money, that's at that end. The branding, the marketing, the processing, that's where the dollars come in. So let's look at some numbers here, Ishmael. I actually have a chocolate bar here to demonstrate it. So out of this chocolate bar, right, the manufacturers and retailers get 70%. So 70% of this, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, so all that, as that's gone. This has gone to the manufacturers and the retailers. So we've got this much left, okay? And out of that, probably 25% of this. So here we go. That's 20%. 5%, that's going to logistics, packaging, and advertising. This is what's left for the farmers. That's about 6% of that chocolate bar. And it means that African cocoa farmers often earn less than $1 a day.
Well, that's very sad. Meanwhile, global chocolate sales continue to rise. In 2024 alone, the industry crossed the $100 billion mark for the first time.
Yeah, and the inequality is so sharp that growing cocoa as a farmer may mean that you never really enjoy a premium chocolate bar. You can't afford it.
Yeah, so let's ask the obvious question. Why don't Africans consume much chocolate?
That was just a quick shot of some chocolate, Ishmael, some of the manufacturer. But that's one of the reasons is that chocolate's seen as a luxury. And that's a big deal because it means that it's not really sold in a lot of these countries that aren't seen as premium markets. Then you've got export culture. So traditionally, cocoa is seen as an export crop. It's the processes are designed to sell this abroad, not to process it in their own country. Therefore, you have this low domestic processing. Africa processes less than 20% of cocoa in the world, and we just mentioned it produces 70%. And there's a lack of a local chocolate industry. There are not very many big factories, and there aren't many brands actually that are strongly present in Africa.
And there's also the issue of colonial legacy. Cocoa was introduced as an export crop, and that mentally still shapes the industry today.
Yeah, so now let's look at the other side of that coin, because we started this with the award that went to Peru for its chocolate making.
Yes, Peru has recently been named a country that produces the best chocolate. But here's the twist. Peru contributes less than 3% of global cocoa production. So how are they winning? Because they specialize in fine flavor cocoa, highly aromatic, rare, and crafted into premium chocolate locally.
Yeah, and that means they can keep a lot of the value at home, especially because they do a lot of processing domestically, much more than in Africa.
Definitely. Now let's talk some politics. In 2019, Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, which are the biggest cocoa producers, introduced the living income differential, where a $400 per ton premium designed to raise incomes for farmers. It means all exports of cocoa will have this additional price added, like a tax, but one which is returned to the producers. It's partly designed to introduce or to reduce, poverty, but also to ensure more sustainable practices. Because farmers are struggling to get by, they are not able to invest in looking after the soil and planting more resilient varieties to protect future crops. It's quite very difficult for these farmers.
Yeah, and however, when this was introduced, a lot of the major chocolate companies, they were very unhappy. Some tried to bypass it, to look elsewhere or find other means to get around it. Some of them delayed their purchases. Other ones just pushed back quietly, but they were all making a fuss.
And this because controlling price means controlling power. And Africa's attempt to reshape the value chain challenges long held global structures.
Yeah, and climate change is also playing a part here, and it's been shifting cocoa production. West Africa is getting hotter and drier, and that's not exactly the conditions that you need, the very tropical conditions to grow cocoa. And some projections show that as a result of this, yields are going to drop by 30% by 2030. So that's just a few years away, unless there's an adaptation.
Meanwhile, global demand could rise by 20% in the next decade.
Yeah, so Africa's basically going to be producing more but earning less. And these are countries that have managed to get higher up the value chain. Peru, Ecuador, Vietnam, they're moving at a high pace to maximize their own earnings.
But it's not all doom for Africa. There's a wave of African chocolatiers redefining the landscape. In Ghana, where I am right now, we have a chocolate producer called Midunu, and there's also a 57 chocolate in Ghana as well, and Fair Afrique in Ghana, and MIA chocolate made in Madagascar. And then Ivorian artisanal brands and Rwandan bean to bar makers, they have great chocolates.
Yeah, and this is one of the things we talk about often on World Reframed, isn't it, Ishmael? There are so many of these small companies that are coming through in Africa, and they're growing and they're developing and they're innovating, and they are trying to, do something different and do something new. And I think that often gets missed in the narrative about what's going on in Africa and the rest of the global South. And these brands are really doing what Peru did, and they're trying to export bars instead of beans. And if Africa can just increase the proportion of cocoa that it produces, even getting up to 50%, the continent would earn an extra $10 billion annually.
Yeah, and this is what chocolate teaches us about global politics. Those who control the raw material don't always control the wealth. The value is captured at the top, not at the bottom. And the taste, yes, even the taste of chocolate is political.
Yeah, so maybe, just maybe, next time it comes around, the best chocolate in the world might be made in Africa. We might see a brand from Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon, or Madagascar coming up to the top.
Definitely. Thanks for watching World Reframed. Subscribe, like, and follow our pages, and see you next time.